A good day to one and all. Yeah, I know. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for coming back to yet another episode 11 of Sometimes the Old Man is Right. As usual, I am your host, Lamont Ferguson, playing the role of the old man. Somewhat tired old man is what I am. Somewhat tired old man who is back out to sea. How you doing? What's the good word? I hope you had a good week. Look, we know if I start the podcast by saying a good day and not a good Friday, that means I'm late because it's supposed to be every Friday. I apologize if you were waiting. It was a travel day on Friday and I got plumb tuckered out. Went from Tampa to Dallas, Fort Worth to Cabo San Lucas to some weird back roads that I was pretty sure was some sort of trap for the cartel. And, so I'm late. It's Saturday. Matter of fact, it's Saturday afternoon. I'm in Cabo San Lucas on a new cruise ship. I'm on the, what in the world? Good grief. I apologize for the background noises. That has nothing to do with me. I don't know what's going on. I will tell you this. I did record an episode. I recorded an episode early morning, but I started listening back to it and it can be misconstrued for working reasons as being something of a negative thing. So I put it on the back burner and I said I will re-record a new show. But I'm going to hold on to that one. I will be releasing it at some point in time, and you'll understand the point I'm making as to why it wasn't released in the first place, or at least during the time that it was. Okay, well, there's a lot to get through. I don't have a lot of time, so let's get at it, shall we? As I said, I am back on another ship. I had a day off of travel. I will be on this Ruby Princess cruise ship for 3 days, gets back to San Francisco, and then I'm going to shut her down for about 9 days, and then hop back onto another ship for 5 weeks. So it's a lot happening, a lot going on. My travel day, like I said, was a little bit crazy because I had been on a ship for 21 days. And every time you get onto a ship, you have to have a COVID test within 48 hours. That's passengers, crew, everyone. So you have to have a negative COVID test to even step foot onto the vessel, in spite of your vaccination status. Well, I'd been on a ship, and I hadn't been tested. So I'm flying to another ship. And then I realize, hey, we're going to need this test. So I call my agency and tell them the situation about, hey, we need a test to get onto the Princess ship. So we're scrambling around. And then as it turns out, at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, there's a testing station, a rapid testing station there. So I schedule an appointment. It's in between flights. The in-between time is about an hour and a half. So it's enough time for me to get there, take the test, turn around, and get to my gate and fly out. I think, well, they instructed me to come back for a hard copy printout of the results, but I wouldn't have had time. I'd have missed my flight. And that seems a little redundant because they're going to email you the results, or at least email you a link to be able to get to the results. So I don't know why the idea that we needed to say, hey, you come back for a hard copy. What are we doing? I mean, I thought we were trying to conserve stuff. We're printing paper for things that we don't really need paper for. It's easier to forge something on paper than it is to forge, hey, let me show you something that came from a link on my phone. Like, if you're forging documents and they're only available by phone, then good on you. Good grief, you're good. You're wasting your talents. So as soon as I got onto the plane, then the email came. It was negative. Good to go. So There'll be one more of those to do in December when I jump on the Holland ship. As I said, the travel was stressful, or the stressful was travel. Either way, it works. And so that was stressful to get there and make sure everything was done. And then more stress happened because of the fact that I get on the plane. And look, I'm a window seat guy. I'm a long time, go way back, window seat flying type of dude. Because as soon as I get on the plane, I want to sit by that window and fall asleep. There have been many times I fall asleep before we back out of the gate. That's how comfortable I am in the middle seat. That's how comfortable I am in the window seat. I'm not going to get up and go to the restroom. I'm just going to sit there, have my own little universe, fall asleep, don't bother anyone. I make it a point to make sure that when I get my plane tickets that it's a window seat. Well, I go onto the plane. I'm in the last group to board. I wasn't originally in the last group, but after getting the test and getting back to the terminal where it was, I'm in the last group to board. And there's someone in my seat. There are two elderly ladies sitting in the row, and one of them is in my seat. Now, look, you know, I'm not a people person, not a fan of the people. I don't care how many good deeds get done by people. The bad deeds done by people, the bad behavior done by people, I don't even know what the streak of good deeds would have to be to get rid of that bad ledger. And people try to discount it because they see one good thing and they go, it's restored my faith in humanity. Really? One thing did? Because the 170 million things did not for me. So I point to the seat and say, that's my seat. I'm in that seat. And then one of the ladies says something that made me realize that not only is she the ringleader, that she's just not a good person at her core. George Carlin once gave an interview, and he said that he is also not a fan of people. He said one-on-one, people are very good. And he's absolutely right. One-on-one, people are fantastic. But when they get to even as little as a group of two, they become infected. And they start to amplify the worst behavior of the worst of one of those two people. That's how it works. They manifest and amplify that bad behavior. So the woman, who I believe is the ringleader of the bad behavior, says, "Oh, we're sorry. We thought you'd like the aisle seat." You thought? We thought? How is that possible? You didn't know who I was. Do you have access to the plane's manifest prior and background information? How would you know that I would like the aisle seat? Because that's obviously not the case. It's far from the case. I hate the aisle seat. I'd rather have the aisle seat than a middle seat, but it's a toss-up. I want to sit and go to sleep. I don't want to be worried about what part of my arm is hanging over the rest to be hit by someone's wide behind or the cart coming down the center aisle. That was just an odd statement to me, and I started putting it all together, and I said, how long is the flight? And they said 3 hours. And 3 hours, that's a long time. It's a long time. And I acquiesced because they were elderly ladies, even though I'm an elderly man. I mean, I got to stop with the, oh, you're old, because they're not older than me. They may look older than me, but they're not older than me. And so I said, yeah, I'll just sit here. And I was angry for 95% of the flight. So that's my own fault. I should have just stuck to my guns and just said, no, I want to sit in the seat that I selected. And here's part of the thing of how I know that this happened. See, if you were by yourself, you would not purposely sit in the wrong seat. Both of them knew that one of them was sitting in the wrong seat. And they thought, well, just stay there. I'm pretty sure the woman that said, we thought you'd like that seat, is the woman that said, just stay in that seat, and when they come, we'll just ask them to move, or we'll bully them to move, or whatever it is. We'll pressure them to move. Well, if you were by yourself, you wouldn't do that, because you know, oh, this isn't my seat. This is not the seat I selected, so why would I be in this seat? But there was the power of more than one person that made that person go, oh, I'll just stay in this seat. And that is my point. It's just rude. It's just poor manners. And it does nothing to help my faith in humanity. Because if given a group of more than one person, which is a group because there's no group of one, people will do just dastardly deeds. And this has happened more than once to me. But I've made a vow, it's not going to happen again. I'm done. I'll play the old man card. I'll play the race. I don't care what card it needs to be played. But I picked this window seat. I will be sitting in the window seat. That's how life works. Sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes you do not. It's not my job to make your life any better. It's as simple as that. So that was my flight. I got in, and then some other things happened. And these are the things that took place even before leaving that I decided not to release on the other podcast. So it'll be a hidden podcast or a special episode podcast that'll be dropped on some undisclosed time. And like I said, you'll understand why. This has to do with the failed model of the corporate world. That's a good way to put it, because no one will know exactly specifically what I'm talking about, but the failed model of the corporate world. I've had a couple of issues in the past couple of weeks dealing with corporations as to where things still never got taken care of, and all it seems like is that it was just a string of emails, and that was the effort that was put into it. And I've said this about every corporation, that the worst thing in the job life, the worst thing in the business model is the advent of middle management. Middle management is the worst. They are eunuchs, to put it politely. They are glorified positions that have no power, nor any ability to make a decision or be in anything that is management. It seems to me, because when you see any type of email where somebody files a complaint about something, they're like, oh, well, I'll send this on up the chain. Why do we have a chain? That's problematic. And then everyone has to make sure that other people are copied into it. Oh, I got to copy Diane in on this. I got to copy Roger in on this. I got to copy Susie in on, okay, not Roger. I take that back. I don't think they make Rogers anymore. It was a good name in my head when I said it, but the truth is, when's the last time you saw a young Roger? Like, there's no Rogers. They don't make a Roger. I look for a name. I grasped Roger's what I went for. It was a mistake. I caught myself. There's no Roger. Roger. If you find a Roger, I'm going to tell you right now, that's the last Roger. That's who that is. That's the last living Roger. They're not making any more Rogers. But my point is that all these emails get sent, 7, 8 people involved, and nothing ever gets fixed. It seems to me that the whole job is to just continue the email train. And that's what middle management is. Middle management goes, oh, I can't make the decision on this. I can't make the call on this. I got to send this to someone else that has a little bit more power than me. And that person goes, oh, I don't have all the power. I got to send it to someone else that has a little bit. And no one ever solves the problem. I had 2 problems, and they were never solved. The brunt of solving the problem, which had to do with financial payment, ended up being me making the payment for things that I shouldn't have had to make payments for. You see what I'm saying? And this is middle management. This is the corporate model. That is a failure. It's an absolute failure. I like people where people can make decisions. I like situations where people can make a decision and stand by the decision, right or wrong. This is the decision. That's not my area, so I can't make the decision. I've also found that when you have lower level people that are just strapped and handcuffed by their inability and not having permission to make a decision, they love it. They won't make one. What they will do is say the same 13 words to you in different order every time you bring up a valid point. That's not us. That's the government. Okay, but what about that's the government. That's not us. Yeah, those are the same words. You just said them in reverse order. I'm sorry. That's all I can do. I'm a performer. You know the great thing about being a performer? It is performance-based. If I don't perform, I don't work. I don't get paid. In the worst case scenario, I get fired. In the best of the worst case scenario, I don't have the ability to do that particular show or gig again. I need you, Lamont, to be here on this date at this particular time, and I need you to perform. Okay, on this date, on this place, at this particular time, I will perform. And that's how it works. Anyone that in a string of emails where the ball gets dropped, that's a nice little corporate phrase. Someone dropped the ball on this. How about someone needs to be held responsible for not doing their job? If I don't do my job, I am held responsible. If Roger doesn't send the email or check back on the email chain, you know what Roger gets to do? Roger gets to show up the next day and continually do shitty work. That's the corporate model. That's what takes place. And I fought against this for decades because I'm a person that likes to make decisions, and I will sit by that decision. I will try to make a well-informed decision. And whether it be right or wrong, I will sit by it. But a decision is made. Because what happens when people get angry as customer service, what we need, as I said before, is someone to defuse the bomb. Can you defuse the bomb? And in the corporate world, no one is defusing the bomb. People are like, I'm just going to let that fuse go and see what happens. And then people get angry and they go like, oh my goodness, why are you overreacting? Nope, not overreacting. You didn't try to defuse the bomb. If you make a valid point to a person that's at the lower level, the lower rung of whatever it is, the entry level of whatever the business is you're dealing with, and the point is valid, and someone should say, hey, you're right. That makes no sense. I should check into it. But they don't. They just go, that is what it is, and I'm sorry. That's not defusing the bomb. That is speeding up the timer. So that's what I'll say about that. Later on a special episode drop, you'll be able to hear all the details of exactly what I'm talking about. So let's just leave it at that. The other thing is was the comments. Remember last week I had teased that I was going to talk about the Facebook comment. Now, as a general rule, I try to stay away from all comments on social media because all comments are horrible. They are made for the group. No one makes a comment and just says, oh, I just wanted to get that off my chest. No, it's made for a group of more than one. It's made to appeal to a larger group and to infuriate. I also believe that a lot of the trolls, I think that they are that. Because I've seen a lot of news stories where that's what people are paid to do. Like, hey, get online. They'll go to some small third world country and pay some people some shekels to go on the internet and just stir up shit. No particular reason, just to divide and make people angry, because somehow that, I don't know how it translates into money. I'm not sure how that model works, but somehow it does. Maybe it's the amount of time that people spend online that it keeps them engaged on the platform, whatever it is, which I don't even understand. Like I said, the arguing, because that's all it is. It's just all arguing into a void, shouting into a void. It's supposed to be communication, right? It's social media, social being in there, but it's not. People just get angry. No one's minds get changed. So that alone should be the number one argument for how trash social media is. Again, quit looking at the one or two positive things and thinking, oh my goodness, that is amazing. And look at the litany of shitty things and how it does not balance out. So anyway, as some of you may know, during the pandemic, I decided to start throwing up content, and one of the things was almost like a news magazine type of show thing I was doing, like a daily show-ish thing, my version of it. And I just talk about news stories and give my little opinions on it and stuff like that. So the show is called The Now Normal. I haven't done an episode in a while, but there are many episodes that are up and segments that are up on YouTube. So I got a comment a couple of weeks ago, and it's not about the comment itself. It's about the mentality of the comment. I'm going to read you the comment as to what I believe it was trying to say, and then I'll go back over it and tell you what it actually said. So what the segment was about was entitled Black Racists, and that had to do with the fact that I had posted something and said that social media, I'm so happy about social media because it's a place where white people can tell minorities exactly how and when to be offended, because that's the case. Like, people have put up things saying that's offensive to me, or that's offensive to, I found that offensive. And then I've seen white people, usually white men, try to correct them and say that it's not offensive, which I thought the offense is in the person that is receiving it, not your idea or your definition of what offense is. But then again, it's, like I said, it's white men. And if they should know something about offending, it'd be the people that fucking invented being offensive. So anyway, this is the comment about black racists, because there seemed to be a groundswell of people saying that, oh, black people can be racist too. Okay, fine. This is the comment. I can't even read their name because I don't even know what the name is. The problem is that Afro-Americans, they said Afro-Americans, are obsessed with race and supremacy. The evidence is all over YouTube, but the reality is that Afro-Americans live in denial, and their real ancestors were primitive hunters-gatherers with no technology, and they should be thankful that they got access to the gifts of knowledge of the Western world, rather than being obsessed with pride and supremacy. Yes, it was horribly wrong for white men to enslave blacks, but they should be thankful that they were allowed to live. The Native Indians of North America were not so lucky as the black slaves as they got wiped out. And I'm going to give you a second to let that sink in, of all the words I just said. That was a comment that someone put. Okay, first thing, I read it as it was intended to be read. I didn't read it the way it was written. Number one, if English isn't your first language, then you need to comment in the language that is your strong suit. Because the word should that I said was chould, CHOULD. There were other things Afro-Americans, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Unless this is from the past. and tenses were wrong in this whole thing. So, like, I'm not going to say the person is dumb or anything like that, because, like I said, it just seems like it was written by English as not being their first language, which is fine, because I took 4 years of Spanish, and my Spanish, if I were to speak it, would sound something like this was written, because I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I wouldn't try to comment in that language either. So let's say that. But this is not out of the ordinary. When I read this, I thought, this is not an uncommon thought, that black people should be thankful and grateful for slavery, because look what it did. It tamed them. It got them wild savages out of the jungles of Africa and brought them to the civilized world. And now look at how they are. They should be grateful for slavery. And I know quite a few people, more than you would like to think that there should be, that believe this to be true. And that is why racism ain't going anywhere, people. It's here to stay. That water got contaminated, and there is no way to purify that water. Because I know people say, oh, when this group of people die out, then it'll be better. No, it won't. Because that group of people infected their children, and their children infected their children. Do you understand that there's at least 2 generations of people? If you're talking about old people, like 80-year-old people, there's at least 2 generations that followed them that also have the same thoughts. Very rarely will someone break free and get away from the tribe and the ideology of that thought process. So this is not surprising to me. It is surprising the fact that someone thought that, hey, I'm going to write this and put it out there. And, for the other people that agree with me, by the way, there are no likes on that comment, none whatsoever. But like I said, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised in the least, because this is the mentality. No thought or credit to the idea that maybe the African people that were taken into slavery had a social structure and had their own things that go on. This is a Western world type of centric thought. It's the best. We're the best, and you should be thankful that we let you in on our practices and our cultures. Should we learn about yours? No, we shouldn't. Not at all. Why would I waste my time with that? But they don't understand the dynamics of what other cultures were, what other things were. For crying out loud, the Egyptians, which were also African, by the way, and the technology and the advent and stuff that they gave to society. But this is a white person saying, or maybe it is I'm not really sure, saying, look at what we've done. We fixed the entire world. That's the mindset. It's that type of mentality. We fix the world. That ain't going anywhere, people. It's here for a while. It is here to stay. So I never replied, because what am I going to do? Change their mind? I could send them a subscription to Duolingo. Maybe I should do that. So you can learn the goddamn language before you start spewing your stupidity out. Anyway, those are the things that have taken place. And now, real quickly and briefly, let me wrap up my recent trip, my 21-day stint with Celebrity. Now, I know this is an anomaly. I know this doesn't happen. I've been doing this long enough. I've been on cruise ships long enough. But I can't. It is going to be hard to put into words what the experience was like. There were no less than, I keep using the number 30, but I'll just keep using it. There were no less than 30 entertainers and performers on board the ship. It was more than that, but I'm just giving you a minimum is what it was. And that doesn't necessarily happen. I don't know how many entertainers are on this ship right now, but I know it's not 30. I know that much. I know it may be a production cast, which will have the majority of the members of the numbers, and then one or two guest entertainers. There were so many guest entertainers, and the cast was phenomenal and so friendly. Like I said, it's going to be hard to put into words of how unbelievably enjoyable that experience was. Here's what happens. I've been sitting in my cabin on this ship since I got on, and I got on at 10 o'clock. I'm not milling about. I'm not hanging out with any other performers on here. I don't know them, and most likely I won't be hanging out with them anyway. But every night was a hang on the Celebrity Constellation that was absolutely enjoyable. Every night, every day. This is a solitary business, being a performer. It really is. The only time you actually end up being with a group of people is if you're actually on a project where that is a group of people that need to do that project. But for the most part, or when you start out with maybe a group of people. But when you are at the point where you have now flown the coop, you are now out of the nest and providing income on your own, that's just you. That is just you. By yourself most of the time. It's a hard road. It's one that we choose. It's one that we choose as performers and entertainers, that we choose. And I know the people who are listening right now are like, yeah, well, you chose that life. Well, let me tell you something. If you ask any entertainer about the choices they made, if they chose to sing, if they chose to be a comedian, if they chose to be an actor or a musician, they won't tell you that they chose that. They will tell you that that chose them. Because that's how we feel. We feel that this art, this need to perform, this passion that we have to perform, that chose us. We were incredibly gifted and incredibly blessed to have this gift of doing whatever it is that we do. And we were chosen to do that. And that's where the drive comes from. Now, these people that want to be reality stars and all the people that like, oh man, it'd be great to be, well, what you're seeing is the extreme of it. I'd love to be in movies. I'd love to be in this. But everyone would. But you know what we also love doing? This. Being on a ship and having an audience, being in a comedy club, having an audience, being in a theater and having an audience and performing, no matter what the level is. See, the reality stars, you want the high end. You want the brass ring. You want to, hey, I'm going to go on The Bachelor and maybe I could just parlay that into a talk show and maybe do this and do that. That's people that are just looking to be able to do. We have a legitimate talent that we love doing. And that's what was so amazing about being amongst all of those performers on the Constellation, is that we all got it. We all understood it. Nobody was looking and saying, oh, well, what are you doing here? What's the next thing? We are saying, this is it. Look at this. Every night we get to go on and perform and do what we love. And to be around those people, to actually have people that know that, look, I mean, God bless regular folks. God bless the non-mutants out there. Because, you know, it's without you, we couldn't do what we do. But to be amongst a group of people where we don't have to be asked the same weird, mundane, nonsensical, non-understanding questions was amazing. It was amazing to my core, to my very soul. It was very satisfying. It was a moment where you could just exhale and go, cool. I'm with my peeps. And God bless all those people. That was That was fantastic. I won't even name the people because I will miss people's names. Like I said, it was like living at the X Mansion because we're mutants. We're all odd. We're all different. We're all mutants, but we have certain powers that make us special. And, let's not even say make us special. We can do special things because horrible people have the ability to do things. So it doesn't make them alone special, but we can do special things. And, to be with, like I said, a bunch of people that got it, that you could hang out with and not have to worry about. So is this a little circuit? So who does your bookings on that? You ever been on this? To not have to have that conversation was so delightful. And it was very sad to have to leave and everyone went their different ways. But we'll all still be in touch. It was a very special moment. Shout out to Celebrity for making that happen. That was very cool. And on that, I think that's a wrap, people. I will try to get the next episode out on Friday because I think I get home on Tuesday. So there'd be no excuses. I won't have to email Roger to email Sally to tell Richard to tell me to put the podcast out on Friday. I think I can get that done next Friday. All things Lamont Ferguson can be found at lamontferguson.com. You can email the show at some time. You know what? I don't even know the email. I'll be honest. I thought it was sometimes the old man's right, but I think it is the old man is right at gmail.com. I think that's the email for the show. Probably should have checked, but I didn't. I'm doing what I can. I have 2 shows tonight. We'll see how that goes. Should be all right. And that's it. They're just 2 shows on this cruise and then home, James. Home. Hang out, go to San Francisco, fly back home. As I said, new episodes every Friday. See what we can do. Social media is TV Funny Man. That's Twitter. That's the IG. TV Funny Man. You know me. I'm Kevin Durant. That's for the very few sports people that understand that interview. All right. I had a lot of things to say. I'm glad that we're winding this down and getting back to getting home. I'm looking forward to being at home and spending time with the crazy kid. See how many rocks, what's the new rock count that she's collected? Hanging out with the son, the wife, see what's doing. I've got a lot of points here, but I will tell you, I'm going to find it hard pressed for you to disagree with any of these. This may be all the time the old man is right, but you know the case. Got a lot of things, but sometimes the old man is right. This is one of those times. I'll see you next week.